See that you're born an Italian if you want your life to be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great.
How about some Donatello?
That's a nice.
Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola, along with Professor Patrick O'Boyle.
Is that your glass of wine intro?
This is...
How many glasses?
No.
We've never boozed up on the show.
No, we're
Am I the
drink
one that
today.
But the
introduces
Chianti is
it?
very good. Now I'm picky.
Yes, this is very delicious Chianti. Our guest brought...
Is that your Chianti intro?
No, this is my... our producer, Nicky, tells me if I got hit by a car, he could replace me and do my intro. So I'm going to change it up. I guess I'm doing the same... Right, Nicky? I do the same thing, too.
Every single episode is the same intro.
That's like...
You believe this?
No, like Johnny Carson had the same intro.
Yeah, I mean, you got to say hello. So he told me before we started recording that he could, in a pinch, replace me and do my intro. So go ahead, Nicky. Show us how well you could do the fine-honed John Viola intro to the Italian American Pod. I'm dying to know. Go ahead.
Hey there, Paisani, and welcome back to the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola. We are here on the heart of the cornerstone of Mulberry and Grand, the heart of Little Italy, with my one and only best friend, Mr. P.O.B. Patrick O'Boyle. And we have a very jam-packed episode for you today. It's every single day. It's the same intro over.
I want to point out. I have a couple of notes. I took a couple of notes. First of all, I say welcome back to another episode of the podcast.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
He's not he is my best friend, but I describe him as my partner in crime more often than my very best. So you keep working. I'll keep doing it exactly the same every time we come in.
I gotta study more.
Study more, Nicky. Pay attention when
rebellious.
we. Yeah, he's rebellious. I know. This is what youth.
My parents say, "Kita zabatara."
He's never really
You
thought
let
of
them in and then they take over.
this guy's gonna replace. One day it's just gonna be him in the seat. I'll be. God knows where I'll be. But no, honestly, I do think.
What are you going to do when we're gone? You're going to cry a long time.
Yeah, you're gonna miss us,
probably.
right?
You do all the Kleenex you need in the will.
Yeah, Nicky, how much have you just loved every minute of working with us?
Honestly, it's awesome. It's kind of a journey. And when I first came on, I really wanted to say I was a little skeptical, but.
Oh.
What does that mean, Scott?
Yeah, well,
No, not in a bad way. It's just more of the idea. Like, I was curious because being with you guys, and you guys can say attest to this, but I'm pretty sure you agree. I didn't realize how much of our community, the Italian American community, actually still is very prominent and cares. And you really showed that to me that there is a lot of people who still do care about our
I
culture.
didn't see that coming.
no, it's very nice. See,
It's kind of nice.
he gives you on the
Oh,
one hand he
yeah.
tells you you're a little boring in your intro. The next hand he compliments the whole point of the show. He does get Nicky's 21. He's the baby of the.
Amory treats them like
We all do. The whole
yeah.
team does. Yeah, everybody. But he's doing a great job. And so, yes, you may one day see Nicky sitting in this chair doing the welcome and hosting the Italian American Podcast because they're going to bury me in this seat. It's an exhausting exercise. But you know what? You talk about people caring. Here's how much our guest cares. We recorded an episode like this with her partner in crime, her business partner. And unfortunately, we had major issues with the audio of that episode, and it didn't
We get
didn't work.
all the
We got a
time.
lot of malocchio,
You
yeah.
guys think we're crazy.
Yeah.
Get out.
If you
Yeah.
came in here, you'd be throwing salt in the corners of the room.
Yeah, yeah, and it was an early episode when we
Yeah,
came to the
that's good.
studio, so it was a matter of honestly kind of moving some of the equipment around. What we didn't know when we set this thing up, and so we
We've been about
lost.
3 episodes.
Yeah, we've lost a couple
of people
episodes
that we have to do
early.
right by,
Yeah,
early on. Yes.
yeah, early in the pre-studio days, we lost a couple, and we lost.
We're going to rectify that.
We're gonna rectify. We're gonna get them on, but this one was lost, and your partner had come all the way in from Denver, Colorado, I think, right?
From Boulder, actually.
Boulder, Colorado. So for me, that's all kind of the same geography.
Because
but-
you don't know.
I know, because I don't know.
Because, thanks to Mariana Gatto,
Yes.
I
one and
have
only.
been exposed to the excellent goat cheese made by Italians in Boulder, Colorado.
You love that goat cheese.
I love goat cheese.
Yeah.
But it's the hard. It's not the moussaka goat
Mhm.
cheese, like the spreadable,
Yeah.
ambile, what they say
Yeah.
in Italian. It's like the hard, like grating type of goat cheese that you get in Italy,
Yeah.
like the cacio di goat
Yeah,
cheese.
yeah, yeah.
I love it. And the hot pepper she gets me from Colorado is outstanding.
One of these days, we're going to do an
Flakes.
episode out there with her about Denver, about Boulder, all the Italians in Colorado.
I would
like-
love to just do spaghetti with hot pepper and grated goat cheese out there. I think
Oh, it sounds
I
beautiful.
could there with the goats walking around.
I'm hungry. I'm hungry now. Well, needless to
You
say,
said I'm cranky.
we
Can you believe it?
off camera. He said he's cranky. He's upset.
I don't even know. I don't think I'm cranky. Nicky, do you think I'm cranky?
No, I,
Nicky
mean,
paused.
no, I had a pause, but no, I don't think you're cranky. I think I got no comment really.
I'm
I
teasing,
plead
right?
the fifth.
I'm teasing
Cranky's
because
just me.
yeah, it's just you. But I'm teasing you
We gotta
because
define cranky.
our guest knows Pat and has gotten to know Pat, and I really want to introduce her because she is coming
See
back
how
to do
see
this
how
episode.
you slipped out of that cranky comment real
Yeah,
quick?
that's what I do. I'm good at that. That's
Segue
why I'm the
to
moderator of this thing. Yep. Eleanor Riccardi is coming to us for a second bite at the apple from Bespoke Italian Citizenship. This is the kind of VIP version of Italian dual citizenship, correct? You guys are
White glove service.
white glove service, right? Very bespoke.
That
right.
sounds
Yes.
very fancy, White Club service.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
It is.
makes you feel
Classy.
like yes.
No
You may
stone
be
left
cranky, but you're
unturned.
classy. This is a guy who knows to get the best of everything.
Is that going to be my
does.
T-shirt?
cranky but
Maybe
classy?
cranky, but he's classy.
That is true. Yeah, you are. You like you're. You know. You just. we
He's
just,
digging out. Keep digging.
No,
Keep digging.
It's interesting. You talk about white glove, but we just. I just found a box or a little a package. The combs you buy are
Yeah,
the
they're good.
same combs that the royal family
They
of
got.
Britain
They
uses.
have the. What do you call that thing?
the,
They have-
Mavis?
the seal. The
I don't even know the company. They have the. Where's the thing
Oh, we
here?
must-
they got the
Now.
royal warrant
The Royal Warren.
here.
They're nice. They're Kent.
Oh, let me
And
see.
this is a fake commercial because
No, it's a fake
They didn't
commercial. Well, they got
sponsor
the, they
us,
got the no way because we had someone made a comment to me. Next time you do a podcast, why don't you comb your hair? Which was a Jersey comment.
oh my goodness.
Thank God I still got something left. Right? So I went out and I got myself a British comb to take here, handmade by appointment to her. Oh, it still makes you rest.
Yeah,
in
it's
peace.
old,
Yeah,
there you go.
Bonanima. By appointment to Her Majesty the Queen.
So you select
brush
good things. Your
Because
suits
I got-
are
I got-
handmade. Your
yeah,
ties
yeah,
are
yeah.
handmade.
I like if you're gonna do it right.
Do it right.
That's why you found Eleanor, white glove service.
Sure, but I'm still cranky even though I got an expensive comb.
He's cranky, but he's got a good comb and he's a classy guy.
Why
you
would
know.
somebody watch this?
They're doing it.
You got to be really bored to talk about my comb.
There you go. Let's talk about something interesting.
All right, go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about your service.
Well, so we have seen kind of what the market is like out here, and we saw that there was a need for speed and efficiency, especially where the Italian Americans are currently in a crisis. The American
Concerning getting an Italian passport.
concerning getting an Italian dual citizenship. So a lot of people don't know whether they qualify or not, and so that's the first step. But second is, where are you going to qualify? And usually the first step is the consulate. That is option number 1 out of 3. And the U.S. Italian consulates are all backed up. So New York currently has a wait list of about 9,000 people. So in the manner that they're processing them, it's going to be about 30 to 60 people per month, and that's going to be about 15 to 30 years if you do the math.
Say that again one more time.
15 to 30 years if you do the math.
To wait to get
To
Italian
wait to
dual
get Italian
citizen.
dual citizenship. And as we know, immigration laws change, by the month, by the day, and so this is concerning. Boston consulate is about 5 to 7 years out, et cetera, et cetera. There is all 20 U.S. consulates are gridlocked. And so there's also a litigation route, and we have a residency route that we offer as well. And so we wanted to create a manner in which people are able to attain their Italian citizenship in a streamlined manner, in a way that we grant them a little bit of safeguarding. And so what we do is we make sure that all of their documentation will be accepted by their clerk specifically before they go anywhere, before they take their flight or anything, because a lot of Italian Americans don't understand. There's tons of name changes. If the sky is blue, there will be discrepancies. And so lots of paternity issues, believe it or not. Grandma ran away with grandpa. She had a marriage prior, but then went and had 5 kids with another gentleman. There's no marriage license, and so that's a problem with the U.S. consulates and some of the communes in Italy as well. And so we have created a manner in which you can present your case to the consulate. Forgive me, not the consulate, but the comune before you even apply.
So explain to a lot of people out there, they have no idea, what is a comune?
So the comune, there's 7,904 comune in Italy. And so that is like the U.S. consulates. There's 20 U.S. consulates in America. And so that means wherever your residency lies, you're under the jurisdiction. If you live in Boston, you're under the Boston jurisdiction, Rhode Island, Maine, what have you. If you're in LA, you're under the LA consulate. If you're in Philly, you're under the Philly consulate. And so the lovely thing about the consulates is that it's the most economical way to go. But unfortunately, it's not the fastest and it's not the safest way to go.
And when you bring up comune, that's the town hall in Italy, basically. That's the town of origin in Italy.
Right.
Correct. And you don't necessarily need to apply at your comune of origin if you're going through a residency program, but you want to be very meticulous about how you do go about selecting a comune. Reason being, they all behave differently, just like the American consulates. They all have tons of discretion, so all of the communes do as they please. Some will go by Italian law that's currently in Supreme Court, i.e. the minor issue, which is a huge deal that we'll talk about in a little bit. Also, some are familiar with the process, some are not familiar with the process, some are hostile to the process. There's been lots of illegalities around Italian dual citizenship, and so they're starting to tighten worldwide comune and also consulates worldwide because there's a larger problem.
So for those in the audience who are unaware, we have some episodes in our archive where we've talked about Italian dual citizenship, the process, the pluses and minuses, why you should do it and who's eligible and this and that and the other. And I think the bottom line is it's really, really on a case-by-case basis, right? Because eligibility, I think what you're saying here is, what you guys define as white glove is basically the idea of we're going to take your hand when you come into our company and we're going to walk you through 3 potential avenues to acquire your dual citizenship in Italy as an Italian American. One of them being through the consulates, which is the sort of traditional route, right, through the consulate that you live in, their territory. The second one is through litigation, which is that you can make a case through eventually the Italian Supreme Court that you are eligible for this. And the third being residency, you can go and live in a place that will grant you citizenship. And that's sort of the newer one, right? Residency sort of people are discovering now for the first time.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And the idea being each of these things, I always say that to people, like when I was at NEF, we would get 150,000 inquiries, 200,000 inquiries a year about dual citizenship. And we, in the early 2000s at some point before I got there, so sometimes in like the early 2000s before I got there, they had developed a questionnaire online where people could sort of decide if they were eligible. And the caveat on the bottom was, even if this computer algorithm says you're not, you still might be. So it really is a case-by-case basis and interpreted differently in different consulates and different communes. But needless to say, there are at least 3 approaches. So for everybody out there who maybe even has tried or sought out eligibility and been told they're not, the idea of white glove is there's a million ways to peel an apple, right?
There is. And so, well, first, again, we're going to establish if you are eligible. And so I'll give you an example. Grandpa comes from Italy, has dad, becomes an American citizen, you qualify because Grandpa had an Italian child. Grandpa comes from Italy, becomes an American citizen, and then has your father. It cuts the line, unfortunately. Reason being is because he had an American child at the time of birth.
Right.
And so this is what defines eligibility, whether you're a first generation or a fifth generation. And so that's the first step. The next step is going to be, where do you qualify? And again, we'll get into the minor issue a little bit later because that does limit your eligibility. And so the communes, they're going to want one set of documentation. They have to be pretty close to perfect. The documentation needs to be a direct line from you all the way back to Italy, proving paternity, proving same name, all correct ages. And so the consulate wants to see that there is a unbroken line. And so that means if there's name discrepancies, if there's problems with your paperwork, you want to make sure that before you step into the consulate that you have all of this documentation nailed down, because you don't want to get to your 2-year process. And we see so often that they get all the way to the end of the 2 years and then the consulate says, I want a certificate of non-naturalization, which means that you are you have never become an American citizen for an American-born citizen. So that doesn't make sense. Or I want to see a 1920 census or what have you. So you want to make sure that you give them all of the information that they want and need, and then even supplemental information. What we do with our company is we make sure that you have an appointment first. This is something that you need to look for when you're looking for a company. You don't want to get the documentation first. You want to see what you're eligible for first. And you also want to secure an appointment, because those documents that you got for an appointment that you can get maybe in 10 years might not be valid. So that's really important to start off there.
So get an appointment first.
Get an appointment first.
Yeah.
Again, it's...
And that means for the uninitiated, that's an appointment at your local consulate.
At your local consulate.
Wherever, and you can call and figure out what part of the territory you are, because those things change. Consulates have been opened and closed, and to figure out through the closest Italian consulate that you think is yours, that if whether or not you are part of that territory, right?
Correct.
And then get on an appointment for dual citizenship.
Yes.
Right.
You want to figure out which jurisdiction that you are underneath. So if you are close to D.C., you're under the D.C. consulate, and so on and so forth. And so if you want to possibly speed up the process a little bit more, there is litigation. But the premise of litigation is that you take multiple screenshots for several months to several years, up to 2 years, proving that you are not able to get an appointment at the U.S. Italian consulates, saying that your civil rights have been violated. And so you do need proof for litigation, but also, like the consulates, you do need to present your full profile packet to a litigator before you are accepted. They have to know exactly what they're looking at before they will accept you or deny you. And then the third pathway would be residency in Italy. And so there's tons of information out there right now. There's a lot of do-it-yourselfers, but what I want everybody to kind of know is that what people had experienced prior to the pandemic, whether it be in the consulate, litigation, or residency route, it's a completely different animal right now, because when the consulates and the commune shut down in Italy and America, everything is backlogged for 2 to 3 years. And so they're just starting to get into things. And just the comunes in Italy behave like the consulates in America. They might work till 12 in the afternoon, 3 in the afternoon. They might not work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So you have to understand that they work at their own pace. The residency programs that are in Italy, so what is first required is a long-term lease. It cannot be a VRBO or a short-term lease.
So let me just, so a lot of people can have questions now.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that the avenue that you proffer to obtain Italian dual citizenship is to be actually living in Italy.
Correct.
Okay, so the system that's backlogged to 30-year wait in New York is someone with a claim to Italian citizenship in the United States fills out the paperwork, applies to, it's an interview, am I correct, that they need to have at the consulate?
Correct.
So they get on a waiting list for an interview, and that waiting list now is 30 years in New York.
15 to 30.
Right, 15 to 30, right?
Yep.
So that would be 2054,
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
So you're saying the way to get around all that is to actually apply from within Italy.
Right in Italy.
So then, just I want to clarify that for our listeners.
Yeah. So via residency, all programs are going to be different. All of the time commitments are going to be different. Some are going to be a month, 3 months, 8 months, a year plus.
That's because they're at the discretion of the commune.
Correct. All 7,904 commune behave completely differently, and
That's
they have
Italy.
their
Because
very
they're
own
Italy.
discretion.
That's
Correct.
So they may not work on the third Tuesday in May, but then they take off the 6th. Well, I guess there's no 6 weeks, but the second Friday in June,
But
and then
the amazing thing is that we're talking about citizenship, right?
Yes.
The redemption of an inherited citizenship in some sense, right? This ancestral citizenship. The idea that each town has the authority and autonomy to sort of interpret policy like they want. I mean,
that's been
Yeah,
our
we-
argument from
That-
day one.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Baez is a country. Every
Yeah.
little town
Every
is
little
its
town.
own
Yeah.
kingdom.
you always joke about how can
Yeah.
you unite people who can't agree on a meatball recipe, but
Which I
the
took
truth
from Floyd Vivino.
you
but
took
it's-
from Uncle
it's-
Floyd,
it's a
the
deep-
best of the
it's
best,
deep.
our
It's
Will
true.
Rogers. But it's really true. I mean, think about the fact that, because what you're basically saying is you don't need to go to your ancestral town in order, you can move anywhere.
I would even say you should not.
Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, tell
Now
us why.
explain why.
Well, because if we have a lot of people and they say, I have family in Rome, I have family in Naples, God, don't go to Naples, don't go to Sicily, don't go to Calabria, Reason being is because these are huge towns, and if you go there, it's going to take you 2 years to be seen.
Because it's bureaucratic. So you're dealing with
all bureaucratic.
Naples is like 800,000 people.
Correct.
So for you to go to the town hall, the city hall in Naples, that's going to be a avalanche of bureaucracy.
Correct.
So you're saying don't go to major cities, don't go to cities that work or little towns that work very slowly, to pinpoint a town where you can expedite the process and get around this 30-year waiting list in New York.
Correct. And so and here's where the problem lies again, is because each commune, some are not familiar with the process whatsoever. Some will reject you on purpose, just like, unfortunately, the consulate. I cannot confirm or deny, but there's a lot of restrictions being placed on Italian citizenship, and again, it's the discretion of the clerk that you were in front of. The very next clerk in the same consulate or comune behave completely differently. So Italian bureaucracy is bar none. The red tape is massive, and they have utmost authority. And unfortunately, Americans need to understand that pushing them does not help either.
Yeah. I keep thinking of the time when you, me, and your brother were doing we had work throughout the south of Italy, and we had like a series of meetings, and we got stuck in Sicily, if I remember. And the only way we can get to Bari was by boat. We had to get a boat to Naples.
Yeah, everyone needs to experience this, because you'll never understand Italy unless you went on this trip that we went on.
So first of all, we're doing meetings in Palermo.
We're in Palermo, and
can
I just jump in?
Please,
we're in Palermo, and John says, we had to get to Bari. And John just says, don't worry.
We'll go to Bari.
We'll just get a flight.
It's the second largest city in the south of Italy and the third largest
The
city.
idea is that the second largest city has to have a plane that goes to the third largest city.
Right.
And we get there to buy the ticket in the airport. Correct me if I entangled these facts. And we find out you cannot fly from Palermo to Bari. That you have to go to Rome.
Yeah.
Palermo to Rome to Bari. And we're laughed at like hyena, like, ha ha. What a ridiculous idea. A plane from the second to the third largest city.
Yeah.
So the key to Italy is to be able to survive. Italy is a country that teaches you how to survive.
Plan B. It's a country of
Yeah.
Plan B.
So, and
100%.
I need to tell this story because I need to throw a little bit of a
okay.
scenario
There
in
we go.
this. You've heard this before, but you're going to hear it again. So my brother, right?
Well, we
And
can't get a flight.
we can't get a flight.
train.
We can't get a
There's no
train.
direct train. So we have to get a boat from the fastest way from Palermo to Bari, which by flight would be an hour, maybe, is for us to take an overnight ferry from
Right, correct.
Palermo to Naples and then rent a car in Naples, drive to Bari. That was the fastest way. The point of the story I want to make is we got to the boat with our tickets, which I purchased through the website on the iPhone. This is not that long ago. And we're like rushing around. We get to the port. We find the boat. We hand the guy, got all this luggage. We got 2 weeks of business meetings. And we show the guy the phone. He's like, well, this is not a ticket. What do you mean it's not a ticket? Well, you didn't go print it and get it stamped. So now I got to run like an idiot. You guys stay with the luggage.
It was like Chariots of Fire.
All the way around the port
correct.
of
He
Palermo
runs.
to find this little room, which is jam-packed with Italian people, Sicilian people. And the thing's leaving. I think this boat's going to leave. And I have to get this printed and one booth and stamped at the other. And Italians don't do lines, so I got to it was the most proud of myself I ever felt in Italy, because I threw away the American compunction to wait online, and I connived and I cut people off, and they yelled at me and I yelled at them, and I got those things printed, got them notarized, got back, and we got on. We were like the last people on that boat, and we took off. And then you get mad because we left you on the boat.
They left me asleep. I fell asleep. We were all watching the results of the Renzi referendum, and we're there. We had an excellent dinner. And nobody has a meal like an Italian ferry.
Nah, it's
we had these
fantastic.
big scaffolders. They were excellent. Right, the meal was excellent, and we're watching the Renzi polling results. And all I know is that I'm there, let's say 8 o'clock, watching with 2,000 people in the lobby of the
boat
the
had
boat. And then all I know is I wake up, and those 2,000 people are gone, and so are you and my brother.
We went to our
I didn't
cabin.
have a key. I didn't know a room. I started knocking on room to room. I don't know if I was abandoned, right? But I don't blame you. I blame my brother. Because my brother's like, yeah, leave him here. Yeah, he'll be fine.
I mean, you didn't want to wake up, but
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to wake up.
I
I would have poked me a few times, put a cigarette lighter under my nose
Something.
to leave me abandoned in the lobby of a ship to wake up, and I didn't even know my room. I didn't have a
No,
key.
you did not.
Oh my God.
I didn't think about that now in retrospect. What had if you?
I don't blame you.
Had
And I
you
really
rolled-
don't, I'm not
I
just
know you
blaming the
don't.
audience. I blame that's an Anthony move
I
2000.
know, but I had to sign off on it. So.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you would. Oh no.
You made it. We made it to Naples. A great trip. Probably the best trip
the
ever.
way, think about that. That was the quickest way to
Yeah.
get from Palermo to Naples.
Yeah.
When Peter and Paul were going to Rome, it was the same thing. We went by boat. It's like, oh, of course you're going to go by boat. That's the antiquity
it's
of
true.
Italy.
It's-
How else would you get to Naples but by boat?
That's amazing.
And if you met somebody in the reign of Julius Caesar and said we have to get to Neapolis by boat, of course.
That makes sense.
Right.
But
Not-
it
not
was. It was the
connected-
easiest
But
way.
even still, you have to adjust to the rhythm of the people. That's
Italy.
driving. That is bureaucracy. That is waiting in line at a gelato counter. That's everything. You
Yes.
have to figure out the rhythm of the people in each.
And it's the
area,
same
in
thing
each
for this
region.
process. You're bringing that to this process. You are
Exactly.
figuring out a rhythm. There are a few avenues. Right. That's the beauty of Italy. That's why I call it the country of Plan B. I did a project with
It is
Dolores.
Plan B.
I did a project with Dolores. We went to Sicily last September, or two years ago. I don't remember. But anyway, Dolores and I planned this trip for an American couple, a social media team, and they wanted to go to Sicily. And so I helped. We planned, and about a week before, we did a Zoom because I could see in the email correspondence we were like kind of not. I said, let's just get a Zoom together, and I'll walk you through the 2 weeks that you're going to film. And frankly, like, let me lay out every area that I foresee a potential disaster. And then let's come up with a couple of options. And we did that. And some of those potential disasters came to fruition. But we had Plan B. And I kept saying to them, like, Italy's the country of Plan B. If you can swallow that pill and internalize that, you're going to love every minute of your time there. If you can, which is when you do that, when you accept that you just be ready for Plan B, maybe Plan C. That's
And
when
Plan B could actually be better than
could be
Plan
better
A.
than
It
Plan
could
A.
be.
That's the beauty of
Yes.
Italy. And when you get to that point where you can internalize that I got to have multiple plans, and no matter what, it's going to be okay. And frankly, Plan B or C, anything could be the most wonderful day of my life because that's Italy's magic. Then you reach the stages I call Italian Zen. You are fully Italian Zen. Nothing can bother you. That's when you appreciate Italy. Alice Bernardi, who used to work with me in EF, came from Tuscany. She used to say that was the Italian fifth gear. When all the chips were down and nobody thought they could do it, and it was the last minute, that's when the Italian fifth gear kicks in, and it makes the best event ever, or the best, whatever you have to put on. And she was right. That's Italy. So basically, what you're saying to your potential clientele is, I'm Italian Zen. I've accepted this as the country of Plan B. Let me help you, me and my partner. Let us help you get to the outcome of total happiness around your experience. I mean, people may be disappointed that may not be eligible, but if they are, you're going to get them there.
Yeah, and we let them know right up front because we want everybody, we don't want to dash anybody's dreams. We want everybody to know exactly what they're in for immediately. We are a company that we would prefer to educate you than to make a sale. Because we know that we're not for everybody. So we want to make sure that you know all of your pathways and that when you're walking into some of these companies that you know what questions to ask and you know what the expectation of the market might be because it's all very, very different.
Yeah.
And so when we're looking at residency, again, you want to look at what's your time commitment, what is your level of assistance when you get to Italy, who is going to do your documentation, what is the time frame in which you might need to do your documentation because what the consulate requires is different than litigation is different than residency. So all three pathways are going to have different requirements for documents and different time frames. And so we want to make sure that no matter which way you go, you're educated so you're not wasting money walking down the wrong path because we see so many people come in and they go all the way to the end of the consulate and they say, you're not even eligible. Well, how did you go through a company in its entirety and you're not even eligible? That's ground zero. That is question one.
Let me ask you a question that I have on this process because, this is the residency option is sort of new to me. And as certain Italian laws change or laws don't change very easily in Italy, but as they're interpreted differently and you get precedent on Supreme Court and things like this, people's eligibility is going to change, right? This is part of the reason why people are in such a tizzy right now because it's starting to eke out into the conversation generally that's going to become a little bit harder or could become a little bit harder for you to get this, right?
Correct.
So before we discuss that, one of the things about the residency that I haven't really understood is, so you can go to any municipality you want, right? Any municipio that has a process for this, you can go. It doesn't have to be your hometown. You may be from Campania, but you can go to Veneto if there's a town, right? But you have to establish the same eligibility as you would through litigation or through the consulate, correct?
Absolutely. Well, there are some caveats, but here's the thing. Again, you can pick any comune that you want, but you do not want to get a long-term lease, which in Italy it's maybe, I don't know, the shortest long-term is about 4 years. You don't want to commit to a long-term lease to establish residency for your process and not know if that clerk will like you and accept your documents or not, or even know, because you need to make sure that whoever you're working with, or if you're doing it yourself, that you do not have discrepancies. And they're not always the obvious, like name changes. Sometimes they, again, are paternity issues, and it could be either in Italy, or it could be in the United States or Australia or wherever you come from. And so these are the major problems, because you can pick anywhere in Italy that you would like to go, but you are going to get vastly different results in each comune.
And because you're Italian Zen, you can direct people where to go, right? You've got the experience.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because a lot of people feel so tied to their family's hometowns, but the thing is that might not be the best place to go to. Yeah, period. That's it.
Especially if someone in the comune hates your relatives.
That's it. And then this is what people don't understand. I had this beautiful woman come to me about 3 weeks ago, and she said, I went to Salerno with a copy of my grandfather's birth certificate. And the gentleman behind the counter says, if you can't, as clear as day in English goes, if you can't speak to me in Italian, you are not getting anything from me. She says, I called my girlfriend in Rome. She spoke to him, and he says, I'm going to repeat myself. If your girlfriend cannot speak to me in Italian and ask for her request, she is not getting anything, and sent her away.
Now that's the negative side of Italian Zen, right? Because the fact that there's autonomy to interpret, like this is a government functionary bureaucrat, right?
Yep.
This is an apparatchik, basically making a decision based on their own prejudices around what it means to be an Italian citizen. And that's not me opining on the need or the benefit of speaking the Italian language. I mean, I do the best I can to be as fluent as I can, because I think it does make it a better experience for you, and I think you do engage the country better. But that's not this guy's decision, right? There's a law, and
That's called America.
That's
an American thing.
That is not.
yes, that's an
that
American
is not
thing.
Italian
That's like
thing.
stand online, right? In his mind, this is his fief. This is his autonomy.
400 people in this
Testa.
comune.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 300 of them are in the frazione that's next door. We have 100 people.
Yeah.
But in this few acres of land, I am the king.
I am the king.
And I make
Yeah.
the decisions. And if you don't like it, it's a nation of power trips in that sense.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And a lot of people don't understand. Again, if you push them, they will shut down. It's
Yeah.
not. They don't even push back. They will just shut down and go no.
Yeah.
Done. That's it.
That's the big difference between Italy and the United States. As much because you can encounter that in the U.S., right? You can get somebody with bad attitude, just the same, or power
State of New
trip,
Jersey.
right? Whatever it is, right? And we've all been to the DMV. No offense to anybody who works in the DMV, but if somebody don't like you,
They're having a bad day
you're
too.
having a bad day, right? But if you decide to elevate that, you have the law on your side.
Correct.
And oftentimes in Italy, that is frustrated by the process, and elevating it is just unheard of.
Because in Italy, you have to understand the art of the personal relationship.
Yes.
Right. That's
An
white
entire
glove.
country that works on relationships.
Yeah, raccomandato.
So if
yeah.
you go in there and you talk to him, and that lady tried in broken Italian and cried and said, my grandfather was born here and this means a lot to me and I'm sorry, and then he feels bad and offers her a coffee, it can get done.
Yeah.
But it cannot be done in the American bang on the desk, let me speak to you.
You ever tell the story about when you snuck all the stuff back from?
Never. What story?
Oh, come on! There's
You
no
had
tax
no-
issue
I
on
don't know
that. All
anything.
right.
What are you talking about?
He
What
used
story?
he used guilt to accomplish something in Italy. Let's leave it at that. That was the story.
There's a story.
The story.
If I see you in person, you get the whole story.
That's right. When we move to Patreon, and this will
Right,
be the behind the scenes
Patreon.
episodes, right?
Patreon.
Exactly.
The
One-on-one.
latest
Yes,
stuff.
pay for
But if you
membership.
know
yeah.
how to talk
Join
to
the new
people-
neighborhood, and you too, as a member, will hear this story.
No, it's not about a financial
No, I know.
gain or anything. It's about
Trust.
we all have our little tricks in our pockets. But in Italy, if you build a relationship, all the doors will open much quicker than America.
Yes.
They'll open up, bing, 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 bing. But if you go
Reality.
in there banging on a desk, and you don't know who, how dare you, and I'll speak to your manager, then you're done.
You're
But
done.
then you probably don't deserve it. If you can't figure that out about Italy, you don't deserve the passport. That's my mentality.
And because
if you're going to collect the passport, if you feel no loyalty, if Italy goes to war, you're going to go fight for them?
that's
Right.
the
That's my
thing.
question. You're getting a passport. You're getting all the benefits of an Italian passport. And if you have Italian blood, I think you should have a right to it. But I don't blame that guy at the Comuna because some people go, if you don't feel a connection,
Yep.
it's like a marriage. It's
I
like
just
you
had
should
a
take
very aha
very
moment.
serious.
This is
commitment.
this is a very big deal for me on the history of the show. We've been doing 5, 6, whatever many years because sometimes we get criticism when we talk about Italy in a critical way. We're not Italian, but what I try to kind of express, and maybe we don't, but it sort of hit me just now. We may criticize the way things work in Italy, but we love it.
Love it.
And we have swallowed the pill. We may observe that things are not functioning the way we might like them, but we're okay
I don't
doing
know.
it the Italian way.
I
don't-
take it as it comes. To me,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I embrace everything that
Yeah.
that it comes with.
And I did that project. Dolores, the guests we had at one point, said to me something had gone wrong, and they said, do you think Italy will ever become like America, especially in a globalized
shouldn't.
world? And I said, I sure hope it doesn't.
It shouldn't.
And if people are coming here hoping that it becomes like America, they should stay in America because
Yeah.
the beauty of Italy is the stuff we complain about. That's the
Exactly.
beauty of the country.
Exactly.
It's so different. It prioritizes personal relationships. From an American perspective, we see that as bad, right? That idea that you need to know somebody, but that's really good. That's really
beautiful.
human. You should know the people you interact with. You should be able to say, "Oh, you know my cousin." I love that. That's human. And I always talk about why I think for me, I relate so much to my heritage. I think all of us at this table do. And our audience out there, that is this vast audience of multi-generations who came yesterday and who's been here for 500 years. It's because being Italian touches so many of the great touchstones about being human. And I don't want to see that change as much as I may complain about it.
Well, they wouldn't be them anymore.
It wouldn't be Italy. It would be, I don't want Italy to be America.
But let me ask you a question. So you, without taking any proprietary secrets
Sure.
from your secret source,
Sure.
so you find the comune, which are the easiest to work with.
So we have comune that we.
So that, and we say comune for the people who don't know, it's the
town.
term.
It's the town.
towns
The
that are
municipalities.
The municipalities that are easy to work with. Would you say?
So what we do is we work with municipalities and clerks that are willing to have dialogue with us. This is not anybody has any special preference. We have a team in Italy that walks into the municipality, speaks to them, and presents your case before you're allowed to fly. We take a small portion of your payment and we stop. We gather all of your documentation. Once your documentation is complete, we then send a copy over to Italy. It's walked to the clerk, and the clerk says yes or no. If the clerk says no, all of these things need to be fixed. It's fixed on the spot. The nice things about the comune in Italy, they're just concerned with proving that you're Italian. They're not so concerned with perfect paperwork like the consulates are. And so they'll say, okay, I don't see a paternity line. Prove paternity for me. And people have to understand, again, the municipalities that are in Italy to prove paternity or what have you are different. That we don't even have them in America. So they just go down to the municipality over that doesn't exist here. So we have to, as a company, prove paternity. We have to write up affidavits. We have to do a lot of things to prove your paternity, but we make sure that it's done before you're allowed to fly. Otherwise, you're not going. And that's the difference, because in litigation, you don't have that benefit. You don't have that at the consulates. And unfortunately, a lot of the companies that are out there for residency, you don't have that either. We have communication with the clerk.
What is the fastest that you've ever seen somebody acquire citizenship? From pick up the phone and call to
End-to-end.
passport.
End-to-end documentation, discrepancies, hell come high water, everything, 8 months, 7
Wow,
months.
that's amazing.
Done.
I didn't think you would say. That's pretty quick, really.
We work extremely aggressively to get all of your documents done and perfected. And not only that, but we make sure that, again, our process is, by the time you get to Italy, a lot of the hard stuff is already done. But we see so many people and they go, I've tried to do it myself. I couldn't get my permesso di soggiorno or my, nothing flowed for me. It's a year and a half I've been stuck in Italy. Or a lot of what I see is and not to disparage anybody else, but I went with a company and I paid the money and I got to Italy and kind of had to do a lot of these things myself, and I can't get my permesso. I have to go pay a real estate agent and find my apartment. None of this
Now,
stuff is
let's
done
just
for
go
me.
through that a minute so that people,
Yeah.
because you have your own way of doing this. So for people to do it your way, they're going to have to live some time in Italy.
With us, we require a very short amount of time.
What's that like? What does that look like?
So that looks like about 21 to 25 days.
So you're going to tell the town that you think is a good fit.
Correct.
You're going to tell them stay there for 21, 25 days.
Correct.
You're going to help them find a place to stay there.
It's already, they don't have to think about anything. We, day one, get them all of their documents. We switch their federal status. We do everything end to end, top to bottom. So literally they can be as involved in the process as they want to be, or they can just princess wave by the time they get to Italy. They have a nice, a very nice experience. And so that's what we want, is because, again, a lot of American people are not used to Italian bureaucracy. It's very different from American law. So we want to make sure that it's as smooth as possible and nobody gets stuck in Italy. Because imagine you go to Italy and you pay a company or you do it yourself and you expect to be there 3 to 4 months and you get stuck.
No, it's your whole
It's a
life.
nightmare.
You
Now,
change your life.
Can it be 3 to 4 months? Is that possible?
That you get, it could be 8 months to a year. Everybody is very different. Every commune is different. Every company is very different.
But in general, within a matter of weeks, if they go to the comunes that you advise, you'll help them get the place to stay. You take care of the soup to nuts.
So you'll get a long-term lease, and then the next thing that is going to help you establish residency is going to be your police check. So Italy legally has 45 days. The vigile have 45 days to come and check you inside of your home to say that you are living there, and it's all based around intent. And each commune views intent differently, and so it's the long-term lease, it's the police check, and then it's the presentation of your documentation. So those are the 3 major components in Italy, aside from all of the documentation that you need to collect to prove that you are eligible to be there, or even through your process, because as Americans, we only have 90 days to be there legally.
So while they're there, for those 3 weeks, they can go do tours. No matter where you are in Italy, there's plenty of touristy things to do.
No, while you are there, you are bound to that town.
But I'm saying the day tripper. So they can stay there as long as they're sleeping at night.
As long as
At
they're
that
staying
place.
there during the day. You can leave at night, maybe about like 7 o'clock in the evening. You can leave in the evening. So we always say, okay, you have a little bit of freedom in the evening. But from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you are to stay in that town.
So you have to work
Wow,
out.
that's interesting.
And so
But that could work in Italy.
Yeah, write a book.
But-
Work on
You
your.
go to the
yeah.
cafe,
Yeah,
you have a
enjoy,
cup
yeah.
of coffee.
Yeah, do
I mean,
something,
There's a
yeah.
way. There's.
I mean,
and
I would
again,
love
it
to be
depends
locked
on
in.
where you are. I mean, you're not in Rome. You're not in Bari. You're not in Matera. You're in smaller comunes, right?
For 3 weeks.
But-
3 to 4 weeks.
But again, depending on who you go with,
Right. Right.
where
Now-
you are. It's
That's
all
where you guys
dependent.
come in.
Correct.
From earns their keep. This is the question I want to ask.
Yeah.
I know we have a lot of listeners who are extremely interested in the subject matter.
Sure.
And when we first met, something that you said, where I said we have to move Eleanor to the front of the line to get her on the podcast, is that there's a good chance that Italy could be changing their immigration laws, and I think this is
Correct.
of huge interest to our listeners.
Correct.
So, in simple terms, because a lot of people they're not into the what's
details.
the
Nitty-gritty.
details, the
Yeah.
nitty gritty of Italian citizenship.
Yes.
For those who might be already in the process, they might be cut out before they get to come up to bat.
Correct.
Can you please explain to everybody the fear that you have of the change that's coming in the law and how you can get around it through your service?
Well, so we have right now in Italian Supreme Court the minor issue. And the minor issue states that if your anchor ancestor from Italy had their child and became a naturalized citizen before that child became 21 years old, that you may be ineligible. They have brought this to the attention of the Philadelphia consulate. So there's multiple people that are in purgatory. Essentially, their applications have been received and stopped. And so they're waiting on Italian Supreme Court currently. And then also there's a lot of comune in Italy. So this is another issue. There's a lot of comune in Italy that are also implementing this law as well. And so this is not an implementation of a bill, it is a reinterpretation of the law. So it can be an overnight change, unfortunately. Because who becomes an American citizen when their child is 21 years old or older? You do it when they're 5 or 10. And so this is one of the most startling things that are coming into play right now. So I tell people, if you are eligible, if you can do it, start now, or else you might lose your chance.
Now, this is the other question that I've heard, is that Italy may require people in the future to live in Italy for something like a year. So from now, when people were able to apply for their citizenship from the United States, is it true that there's a possibility of legislation in Italy, a strong possibility, that would require people to live in Italy for a year and pass a language test?
So this is referring to Bill 752. And Bill 752, we are not sure if it's a real threat or not as of right now. Reason being is because it can take bills years to pass through Parliament, and we don't know in which capacity it can pass, but it does state that you will have to live in Italy for 1 year, and you will have to pass an intermediate B1 Italian language course, and it will cut how many generations it can go back that you are eligible for. So these are some of the things that if somebody was really looking to start their Italian citizenship journey, I don't care what you do, start now. I don't care who it's with, start now.
Look into the camera and tell them that again.
Please, I don't care who you are, I don't care who you go with, but if you have eligibility for Italian citizenship, please start now.
You saw that, folks.
Now.
Now is the time to do this. This is important.
The time is now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the process myself, and it's there's a lot of
red tape,
and loopholes and conditionals and this and that and the other. But ultimately, this is so. It's an increasing. I see an increasing desire in our community for dual citizenship. People really want this, and as well they should. There's a lot of benefits. We've talked about them on prior episodes. If somebody wanted to go with Bespoke Italian Citizenship and your company, how would they find you guys?
So you can go to bicitaly.com or bespokeitaliancitizenship.com. You can follow us on Instagram at bespokeitaliancitizenship.com. We will help you through the process. We will help to qualify you. And if you would like us to do everything end-to-end documentation all the way to citizenship, we will be more than happy to help you. Again, typically we can do that in about a year, 8 months to a year. So if anybody is interested, we are always open. But if nothing else, we are here to educate. So even if you don't go with us, we are more than happy to let you know what you are eligible for.
That's a very important and enticing offer. So if you are interested, the website's on the screen. They'll be on our show page. They'll be linked in our notes. This is an opportunity for, something you've been on the fence about. It's a good time to do it. Make sure you jump.
I think one of the most important things right now, too, is we cannot confirm, any of this. That we do have a blog on our page on bespokeitaliancitizenship.com, bicitaly.com, and it gives the habits of each of the consulates. But I want to point out 3 consulates today. And so one is New York, the second is Boston, and the third is Philadelphia. All 3 consulates are offering different types of appointments to first generation. I don't know in what capacity, but you will be able to pass through possibly a little bit faster.
If you're a first-generation American.
If you're first generation. Philadelphia and New York said that there's a separate appointment that you're able to make as a first generation, and all you have to do is submit a few documents, and you'll be golden. That could happen in a year. It could happen in 2 years. It could happen in 10 years. We haven't got a lot of feedback from that. Also, Boston is a write-in city, so you can literally just email in the documents that they require for that first generation appointment. So again, it's okay if you don't go with us, but we do want to let people know that that is an option. Always explore the consulate first, just try to make sure that you can get, if you can get an appointment, God bless you.
Yeah.
If you can't, then there's these other options.
Yeah, that's good to know. That really is. I mean, again, everything can be different, but this is, I think, sounds like the consulates, at least Boston, New York, and Philly, addressing what's been a big issue, which is a lot of people who they or their parents came here, and because they came here, maybe they came here 20 years ago and lost the eligibility, well, people who, family came 150 years ago are eligible. It is something that needs to be addressed, right? This is a real issue, and it sounds like they're doing that. We were saying we know people who don't speak English and are ineligible because of these loopholes, and
There's people who came from Italy.
Yeah.
Got American citizenship, the 60s and 70s.
Right.
Consequently, because of the way the Italian law was at the time, lost their citizenship.
Yep.
And then in the mid-90s, it was an 18-month period about 1994 where you could regain your citizenship.
92.
92. So the Italians who had immigrated to America, who had gotten American citizenship, could reobtain their Italian citizenship.
They could retain their dual
Dual
citizenship.
citizenship, right.
But if you didn't get into that 18-month window in 1992, now you're out of luck.
Right. And so I think it sounds like the Italian state, at least in these cases, is starting to address that.
But that's the beautiful. It's the most complicated, whacked-out rules.
Yeah.
But it's only Italy. So if you were born in Italy, grew up in Italy, and became a citizen, American citizen when you came here, and someone's 13th great-grandfather left Portofino
Right.
in 1800, they have a better shot at some circumstances now than you do.
First generation.
Yeah. It's,
And I'll say Italian citizenship is one of the, it does allow for multiple generations, which is wonderful, but the other caveat is that it is hinging entirely on naturalization, where Irish citizenship doesn't, citizenship for Spain doesn't, and so that's going to be the difference, and that's unfortunate.
Right.
So I get a ton of questions from Italian-born citizens as well, and they said, well, I've relinquished my Italian citizenship, and I'm an American citizen now, what do I do? The only thing that you can do, unfortunately, is go back to Italy and live for 1 year. That is the
sounds
only
terrible,
way.
really.
It's not, but a lot of older Italians that
Right.
have
A lot
families,
of older people can't. Yeah, it's true.
it's a little bit more difficult for them. Whereas somebody who's young and they want to go over and live in
Right.
Europe for the rest of their lives, no problem.
Right. It's very interesting. You see so many different things. I know, like, because my wife's an Italian citizen, I looked at whether I sought eligibility for myself after all these years, or if I went through marriage, and that changes if you get married before 1982 versus. So it's a lot of different things that you have to take into account, and whether it be BIC or another company, the truth of the matter is, if you have the resources for it and you're willing, it's good to do at least a consult just to sort of get your bearing, because it's confusing but not impossible, right? And it's
Correct.
a really, we've done other episodes on the benefits. I don't want to rehash here towards the end, but like, no matter whether it's because of the benefits of the passport or what it means to you emotionally, I fundamentally believe this is a good pursuit, a good and righteous pursuit, and I think it's something that should be on your radar. So hopefully everybody out there puts it on their radar.
So some of the benefits of Italian citizenship are, not only are you an Italian dual citizen, but you are an EU citizen
Right.
of all 27 EU countries. Your children are allowed to go to university for very little to free
In all of those countries, correct?
in all of those countries. Free to very inexpensive healthcare and insurance, and also the ability to work freely without having to get sponsorship. And so not only is this incredibly important for the individual, but this can be important for the rest of
Your family.
lineage.
Yeah.
As long as you register the children before they turn 18, you can pass this on infinitely until the law changes.
I say that to people all the time. If you're not going to do it for yourself, if you're
Do it
a
for the
grandparent or whatever, yeah, do it for your kids, do it for your grandkids.
the grandkids,
Because
somebody.
look at how expensive it's getting to pursue education, higher education in this country. Look at how expensive it's getting to pursue healthcare in this country. And you could measure those industries against the European alternatives, but I think in a globalizing world, it's going to be I'm certainly something I want it for myself because of my emotions, but my daughter was born with it because of my wife, and I'm very happy she was. And God spares future children. I hope they experience it and understand the benefit that comes in a globalized world from having these two passports.
100%. Don't wait. This is not. It is a blood right, but it's not a right. It's a privilege and a luxury, and it's something that. It's one of the best things that you can do for your family. It really is.
Yeah. And if you're Italian and something else and you're eligible through other countries, explore that with the
Go that
consultant
way.
too. Yeah, because you could
Go
get
that
you can get your Irish passport, you could still live and work in Italy.
An Irish passport takes 6 weeks.
Well, it's a different country than Italy. Yeah,
but Italy is a 30-year wait.
That's
You
okay.
gotta say, you got to go in and beg and kiss the hand.
Wait.
and-
We established, this is the important thing. We established the worst case scenario is a 30-year wait. The best case scenario you've seen is 8 months.
8
So
months.
it takes longer to gestate a child. So you know what? There's a range. That's Italy. It's the options and plans and different alternatives, but they're there.
And honestly, if all of your documentation is in order, it can take even less than that.
See? Could take even less. What a great great option. Just make sure you explore whether or not it could take you even less than the 8 months, or whether you got to wait those 30 years. And Eleanor and her team and her partners are going to be there to offer you an option to help you plan. So thank you for coming. You came all the way from
My
Boston.
pleasure. I
With
did.
gifts.
With gifts, with
Cigars
wine and cigars.
and yeah, we did all right today.
And you guys have been bumping around feasts. You guys,
Yeah.
So you've got to know all of our team. So come back anytime. We love having you here.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you
Pleasure
again.
to be here.
bicitaly.com. If you're interested, if you're curious, if you need a little bit of a consult, make sure to reach out now. Get on the website, make a phone call. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your opportunity. Don't waste your privilege, as Eleanor so rightly points out,
Right.
to be the citizen of Italy and the great United States. We hope you pursue it. You'll see me there, hopefully with my passport in hand. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See that you're born in
Da, 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 da.
If you want your life to be great, see that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life